and gentlemen, please welcome the king, the greatest of all time, 8-time Mr. Olympia, Ronnie Coleman! Ladies and gentlemen, let's make some noise for the king himself, King Ronnie Coleman! All right, now you all may be seated. Wow, wow, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, and I say this on a personal level, and I say this for everybody here in this room right now, what an honor it is, what a privilege it is for me to be sharing the stage with bodybuilding royalty, but truly, what an inspirational moment I hope the next half hour is going to be for all of you here today to be in this same gathering as bodybuilding royalty. We're talking about 4-time Mr. Olympia Jay Cutler and 8-time Mr. Olympia Ronnie Coleman, who authored the greatest rivalry in bodybuilding history, a rivalry that will be told stories for years and for decades to come. So Jay, I'm gonna start with you. For as many times as you've been to the Arnold Classic, for as many times as you stood on the long lines, this now being the 38th edition of this show, does this ever get old to you?
I love it. I mean, thank you guys all for coming out, spending a little time with us. I know this is another historic year at the Arnold Classic. You know, I've been coming to the show since I was 20 years old, and you know, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger every single time. And you know, a lot of new faces, a lot of the new generation of the parents that used to come see us. Now it's the kids coming, and I love to see that. I love to see the enthusiasm, and once again, I appreciate everyone coming out.
Well, what you just said is fact, because the traditions that you and Ronnie, the foundation that you've laid for this sport of bodybuilding, ladies and gentlemen, this is what makes this so special. This is what makes these two so special, and this is what makes this Arnold Classic so special, is that these traditions, these rituals, these stories, these legends are kept alive and passed down generation to generation. Like Jay just said, you're gonna have parents who were here waiting on these long lines, watching the shows, and now their kids are coming here and they have the same reverence for these two. Ronnie, for all that we talk about your journey, your story, you have always found a way to take adversity and not only turn it into a positive, but reinvent yourself over and over and over again. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say, and I'm going to be very candid about this, man right here, this legend right here, Ronnie Coleman, suffered a major health crisis earlier this year. A life-threatening health crisis earlier this year. But in typical Ronnie fashion, here he is in front of you with that zillion-dollar smile on his face and ready to share with you that love, that passion for bodybuilding and all that it stands for. So a round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen, for the king, Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie, you see your adoring fans, and they know everything that you've been through because, look, now in the era of social media, and to credit to both of you, you've been so good about being very transparent about your life, about details of your life, about what you're going through. And with you, Ronnie, we all saw what you went through. But here you are right now, and you see how everyone here, eyes locked on you, nobody's staring at their phone, they're hanging on to your every word. What does that mean to you?
That means God is good all the time. And all the time, God is good. That's what it pretty means to me. I'm also coming out with a new creatine here. We got creatine flavors, you know, something never done before.
Whoa,
We got,
we go
Dragon
from
fruit splash.
this touching moment about you to creatine.
I thought we was introducing our new product.
We
coming
can.
out with.
We can.
I didn't know
Yeah,
we
we
was
can talk
doing
about it.
I didn't know we was doing
Tell
that.
us more about the creatine adventure
yeah.
from the Ronnie Coleman signature line.
We got creatine flavors, you know. We got Dragon Fruit Splash, Sour Galaxy, and Cotton Candy Crush. And this is a new product we are releasing next week sometime. I just want everybody to know that because these people have supported me many years. As a matter of fact, this is my 32nd Arnold Classic. I've had 8 back surgeries, 3 hip surgeries, maybe 4, 3 neck surgeries, and I've never, ever missed the Arnold Classic. As a matter of fact, I came straight from the hospital some years ago, straight from the hospital to the Arnold Classic. So the hospital couldn't even hold me down. As you were saying a few minutes ago, you know, I suffered a major health crisis about 8 months ago. I was doing a seminar in, I think it was Milwaukee, and out of nowhere, you know, sepsis tried to take a brother out, but even sepsis couldn't hold me down. And when sepsis couldn't take me out, you know, I had this bad heart tried to take me out. That couldn't take me out either because God is good all the time.
You know, we talk about your journey that has been Ronnie. You know, for those that don't 100% know Ronnie's story, prior to being a bodybuilder, he was a top-tier college football player who was getting interest from the NFL. You suffer an injury, and then eventually you parlay that into a bodybuilding career. And now here, post-bodybuilding career and all the business success you've had, again, you suffer from sepsis, you have that battle with sepsis, but now you've even managed to turn that somehow into a positive. Tell the audience a little bit more about the Sepsis Foundation that you founded.
Yeah, I've never heard of sepsis until I got it. And so I turned it into a positive to help raise awareness. And we put on a deadlift contest at my gym to raise money for it. We did pretty good. And we were selling T-shirts to help raise awareness. And we sold a lot of T-shirts. And we gave all the money to sepsis to, you know, bring awareness to it. So from where I see it, everything happens for a reason, you know. That sepsis was pretty rough, but not rougher than 8-time Mr. Olympia. So God is good all the time. And yeah, like I was saying, I also had a bad heart valve that came out of nowhere that I had to have replaced, and that didn't take me out either. God is good all the time, and all the time, God is good.
You know, Jay, I think it was a couple of years ago that you received the Lifetime Achievement Award here at the Arnold Classic, and you made it a point to mention what Ronnie meant to you, not only as a bodybuilder, but really as a man. And we will talk about the rivalry and everything during your bodybuilding career, but you look at how Ronnie approaches life now. During your bodybuilding career, as much inspiration as you drew for him then, do you look at the way that he's pushing through now and still draw inspiration from Ronnie Coleman now in this stage of your life and business?
Everything happens for a reason.
You know, and when I first started picking up bodybuilding books, which was the only way that we could actually witness what this was all about, I saw pictures of Ronnie Coleman. So he was a big inspiration on my journey, me being about 10 years younger than Ronnie. So when I was able to, you know, build up the rivalry and, of course, you know, use people as kind of motivation, you know, that just triggered me even more. But we all look for inspiring figures that maybe have a story, or, you know, we compare ourselves to, or we strive to be. And I mean, we're here at the Arnold Classic, of course, Arnold in the films, by the time I was a teenager, he was a huge figure in my mind. So I had a lot of inspiring people, but you know, when you become, you know, a witness of greatness, and Ronnie was one of those persons that at the time when I was coming up, he was winning titles already. I just wanted to really be someone like that. So when I was able to stand next to him and then battle it out, of course I wanted to win, but I still had a lot of respect for what he did and what he carried. And Ronnie's personality tells a lot. We traveled extensively together over the years. We did have a very strong rivalry. We both wanted to win, and I feel like we both had confidence that we could both be the champion. Ronnie happened to get it a few more times than me in those battles. But it took a minute, and then Ronnie got a little older, and I was able to overcome father time on his side, and I actually took the title from him.
Yeah, buddy.
You know, we talk about the rivalry. Tell us a little bit more about you two trained together. You ate together. There are so many things that you learned about not only Ronnie Coleman, but what it takes to truly be an apex predator at the top of a sport. If you could share some of those stories, some of the little things, bodybuilding related, life related, success related, that you saw from the 8-time champion.
I can tell you, we would fly to events on the weekend, and Ronnie Coleman would fly on the plane with his tights on already and ready to train. So he'd walk through the airport with his tights, and everyone knows when Ronnie wore his tights, you could see the veins through his tights, and everyone in the airport would be stopping and looking at Ronnie, and he'd be like, okay, where's the gym? Didn't matter what time we got in, whether it was, you know, 5 o'clock in the afternoon or midnight, gyms were shutting down for us to train. And I believe, I think Fridays were Ronnie's leg days, and he would be like in the corner squatting 600-700 pounds. I'd stop at 400 pounds, and everyone would be like, you have to squat more in order to beat Ronnie Coleman. No, I said, no, I just got to wait for him to get older. But we would train, we'd eat together. Ronnie ate as much as I ate, which was anytime anyone wanted to buy us any food, pretty much. So it was a hesitation for a lot of the guest appearance people to bring us in because the food budget was astronomical. Ronnie would order double steak all the time. It was a lot to feed us.
Yeah, those were the good old days, and I wouldn't trade them for nothing in the world. Because like I said, like Jay said, soon as I got off the plane, no matter how many hours I would fly for like 16, 17 hours to Australia. The first thing I'm looking forward to when I get off the plane is where's the nearest gym. Training has been, you know, my life pretty much. I've been doing it now for about 50 years. I started when I was about 12 years old. I'll be 62 in 2 months. And it's something that I got a lot of passion for. You know what they say about passion? As long as you got passion for something, you never work a day in your life. And people used to always ask me, how did I work full-time for the police department and train each and every single day? I just tell them, hey, I had a lot of passion for working for the police department, and I had a lot of passion for training each and every single day. So every morning I got up, I looked forward to going to the gym and working out. And when I got through working out, I looked forward to going to work so I can kick some ass. Yeah, buddy.
You know, Ronnie, you always remember your first Mr. Olympia. You remember exactly the moment you heard your name, the moment your hand was raised, the moment the confetti fell from the sky. And then there comes a moment where you have to defend your title, and then do it again, and again, and again. When you look at what Jay did to push you, how much did that force you to up the ante in terms of the training, in terms of the motivation, the desire to stay atop and defend this young buck off?
You know what, I hear that a lot, but I always tell people that my biggest competitor was always me. I ain't got nothing against Jay and nobody else on that stage, but every time up there, I'm trying to outdo what I did the year before and the year before that. So my biggest competitor was always me because I'm always trying to outdo what I did the year before. And that's why, you know, I trained hard as I possibly could each and every single day. And I was saying I had the passion to do it, and it was something that I looked forward to back then, and I'm still training 6 days a week, you know, so working out is something I'll do till the day I die.
Ronnie, you look in this crowd, and the one thing that bonds everybody here in this room, we train.
Oh yeah.
We go to the gym.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, some of us train more hardcore or less hardcore than the other. What do you say to everybody here that there are gonna be those days where you just don't have it? You're just not feeling it. How do you push through and get it done?
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news and say this, but when you got passion for something like I do, there was never a bad day. So, because like I said, I'm looking forward to going and training each and every single day. Every time I get up, each and every single day, even when I'm on the road, you know, traveling all over the world, the first thing I look forward to doing is when I get off the plane is where the nearest gym, because like I said, you have passion for something, you never work a day in your life. And for me, you know, I'm a little bit different specimen. So training is what God put me here to do, I guess.
Jay, when you reflect back upon your career and your reign atop the bodybuilding mountain, and really your about decade-long top, you know, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, how much of that do you credit to Ronnie in terms of, if Ronnie was never in the picture, would you have pushed yourself that hard?
Oh yeah, he was champion.
You know, even when I was placing almost dead last at the Olympia, I was still thinking I was going to stand next to Ronnie. I mean, I truly believed in myself from day one. I loved what I did. Like Ronnie said, I still travel and look for the nearest gym after everything. I think Ronnie definitely gave me motivation because he had the one position that I wanted. And I loved the challenge. I loved that the show was always built around our battle, but there were a lot of other guys that I was trying to fend off at the same time. But a lot of guys I admired. I mean, we sit up here as two greats in the history of bodybuilding because we did a 1-2 battle forever, it seemed like, but it went by so fast. I mean, that's the one thing I can tell you guys. The time, it goes by every single year, because once I was defeated, I really wanted to, okay, I want another shot at Ronnie, and we had to wait a whole year to do that because he wasn't competing at any other shows. Where I was coming over here and winning Arnold Classics in between, I did that 3 years in a row, and then I turned that into, you know, chasing down him at the Olympia. And like I said, I look forward to those battles, but I look forward to all the new rivals also. And, you know, the media really kind of created as much buzz as they could, but in the end, all I really gave a shit about was to beat him. That's it.
So then when you finally do overcome Ronnie, now again, I asked Ronnie the same question. You win that first title, and in your case, you defeated your idol. Do you remember everything about that moment? What kept that fire lit to repeat and eventually win 4 titles?
I mean, listen, I was second him until I won, so of course I was like, okay, I'm over the hurdle. Now I have to challenge myself, and that became a little challenging because there was no one that had the physique like he did that I stood up against for the rest of my career. And, you know, I kind of missed it, to be honest, a little bit. And, you know, we had pushed ourselves to be the biggest, baddest on stage. We trained the heaviest, we ate the most. We created this whole aura of the size and the conditioning. And obviously I still feel even today, there's no one that's pushed the size and the conditioning further than Ronnie Coleman. That's why we are, you know, sometimes people question who is the GOAT of bodybuilding, but this man pushed the physique to the level that no one ever has and still has not. So we have to give that respect. Although Lee Haney won 8, I mean, Phil Heath won 7, Arnold Schwarzenegger won 7, there's so many great physiques, but this is the biggest, baddest physique, and I was able to beat his ass.
All right, now
Yeah, buddy.
both of you talked about eating and the diets. I have to know, because there was a story about you, Jay, where 140 eggs a day? What was, at the peak of your powers, what was your typical diet like?
I ate 30 egg whites at a time. So, and I used to crack all those eggs. Anyone that knows, anyone that's trying to put on size or stay in some sort of condition, we ate multiple times a day. And I'd buy a whole cow at a time, 30 dozen eggs at a time. You know, I was eating up to 4 pounds of meat a day, 1,000 grams of carbs a day. We were just basically eating and going to the bathroom all day.
Ronnie, what was your, at the peak of your reign at top bodybuilding, what did your diet look like? I heard about the 2 steaks every meal.
Well, my diet was pretty simple. I was eating 600 grams of protein a day, so I'm taking in 100 grams of carbs with each meal. And I remember my nutritionist first told me I needed to eat 600 grams in the 6 meals a day, and I'm like, dude, I can only fit 5 meals in a day. And he was like, well, you're gonna have to get up in the middle of the night and eat a meal. I'm like, yeah, right, that ain't gonna never happen. But little did I know he was serious, so I had to get up in the middle of the night and eat a meal and go back to bed. So I would go to bed every night about 4 a.m., you know, just after work and everything. I would get up at 7, eat my first meal of the day, which was grits and a protein shake, something simple. And I would go back to bed from like 7 to 8, and I would get up at 8, get up at 11, and do my first treadmill of the day. And after that, I would have my second meal of the day. So eating was a full-time job, and 600 grams of protein is a lot of protein.
Yeah, but you dripped it in barbecue sauce, don't lie.
No, I only had 2 protein meals. The rest was food. I was eating 100 grams of chicken, 100 grams of steak, of 100 grams of like turkey. You know, then it was chicken again, and then I had my 2 protein shakes of 100 grams.
So just to kind of give you all some perspective, this is one of those don't try this at home sort of scenarios. This man had more barbecue sauce in one sitting that probably all of you have in a week. This man ate more carbs in one day than you all have in probably a month. There is a term, it is called genetic freak. You're looking at them right. Let me ask you,
you know, I wasn't as lucky as Jay. I was only able to take in 125 grams of carbs a day. So my carbs were very low, very low.
let me ask you both this, and in all the times that I've had the privilege of asking you, of interviewing you, I've never really asked this, but when you look back at your career, Ronnie, I'll start with you. What year, which Olympia would you say was your best? Some say it was 98, some say it was 99, some say it was 2003. Ronnie Coleman has to go on the record. Which edition was the best?
I'm gonna have to go with 98 because I'll never forget that one, because that was the one that I had no idea that I looked as good as I looked until actually the magazines came out, because the night before the show I had carved up so much, you know, that I refused to look in a mirror before I went on stage, because I was kind of scared and a little depressed that I had, you know, screwed up again, because in 1997 I had placed 9th, and I was trying to make the top 5 in 1998. And I was doing everything in my power, you know, to make it to the top 5. So in 1998, I was actually shooting for the top 5, but God had other plans, and I ended up winning. So I'm gonna have to go with 1998 as my best conditioning, because when I saw those pictures, I was truly shocked, and still today, you know, I'm still kind of shocked at the way I look.
Jay, when you look back at your career with the 4 titles, with the 4 runner-up finishes, which Jay Cutler version stands out to you as your best physique ever?
Probably the quad stomp year, 2009, when I came back to beat Dexter Jackson after losing. That was a good year. '01, when I got robbed of the Olympia against Ronnie, that was pretty good too.
Yeah, right.
I thought I should have won that, you know, I thought I should have won that one, but
Don't feel bad. I got robbed a bunch of years.
I know.
So, you know, there's something that I've always been meaning to ask the two of you. Again, look, we talk about the rivalry between you two, but
We all got robbed.
there were so many other legends that competed during your time and after. I'll go one by one. Who is the greatest uncrowned Mr. Olympia? Is it Levrone? Is it Flex? Serge Dubray? Kai Green? Ronnie? Who would you say, or Victor Martinez, greatest uncrowned Mr. Olympia of all time?
I'm gonna have to say Flex Wheeler because I've always looked up to him, and you know, I've always admired Flex, and Flex taught me a lot too about being a bodybuilder, and I learned a lot from him. Actually, you know, he's probably the main reason why I won my first Mr. Olympia, because he turned me on to this guy by the name of Chad Nichols, and Chad truly changed everything I was doing as a bodybuilder. So I got to go with Flex Wheeler as that uncrowned Mr. Olympia for sure.
I was gonna say there was another gentleman by the name of Kevin Levrone who put you onto something else that tilted you onto the. So for those who haven't heard this story, if you want to tell them the story, Kevin Levrone, I believe it was in Europe, right?
Oh yeah, in 1997 we were doing the European tour, because after every Olympia there was a tour in Europe every year, and we used to have like 6, 7 shows, you know, after the Olympia. But one year in 1997, Kevin was winning every show, and I'm getting like 5th, and I'm getting 6th. I'm like, damn, what the hell is Kevin doing to win all these shows? So I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go in his room and ask him. So the night before the last show, Kevin had won 6 in a row, and like I said, I was getting like 5th place, 6th place in every show. I'm like, Kevin, I knock on the door. I'm like, Kevin, what are you doing to win all these shows? And he's like, you want to know what I'm doing? I'm like, yeah. So he goes over to his coffee maker he had in his room, puts on a pot of coffee, and then he pours it in a cup. And I'm like, okay, coffee ain't that bad. I can drink coffee. And then he goes into his refrigerator and he pulls out a bottle of vodka. I'm like, damn, what are you going to do with that?
You got that right? Vodka. Vodka.
He
All right.
poured the vodka into the coffee, and he's like, you want to know what I'm doing? I'm like, yeah. He's like, drink that. I'm like, dude, I don't drink no vodka. I know coffee is okay, but vodka? He's like, hey, that's what I'm doing, coffee and vodka. And I'm like, okay. So I drank this vodka, coffee, had a cup. I'm like, man, that wasn't so bad. Let me get another cup of that. So I drank another cup. And I'm like, that wasn't bad either. Let me get one more cup. So
We're talking about a lot of vodka and coffee now.
Yeah, I'm on my 3rd cup of coffee and vodka. And I'm like, man, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go to the room and get me some sleep. Well, I didn't sleep much that night because I was going to the bathroom a whole lot. So we go to the show the next day, and backstage, I'm taking off my clothes. Kevin looked at me like, man, that vodka and coffee worked pretty good for you. I'm like, yep. And I ended up beating Kevin in that show, you know. And needless to say, he never beat me again.
So again, another one of those perhaps don't try this at home kind of a deals if you're trying to get in contest shape. I'm not sure if coffee and vodka, 3 servings is going to work for each and every one of you, but Jay, let's go to you on this one. Your uncrowned Olympia, when I talk about someone that you look back at the last 20 years of Olympias and you say to yourself, oh man, injustice that that guy never won an Olympia title.
You know, we can go back to even Rich Gaspari, who was consistently second to Lee Haney, you know, 3 times in a row. And I mean, that consistency is really impressive. So I agree with Ronnie. I think Flex, I think Kevin, I think Sean Ray was there a couple of times, Nasser Al-Sambadi. There's a lot of greats that we think that probably could have held that title at certain moments, but I look at the consistency, especially in those days. Like, you have to give Rich Gaspari, who was the first Arnold Classic champion, a little credit, because he was right there. And, you know, Haney won 8 in a row, and, you know, of course, tied with Ronnie. So, you know, he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest also. He was your idol. You looked up to Lee Haney a lot. Just so many great bodybuilders inspired so many of us along the way. So it's really hard to pick necessarily one, because I think all of those guys deserve a lot of credit.
You know, we talk about, obviously, your reverence for Ronnie, growing up as a bodybuilder, idolizing Ronnie. Give us a couple of other bodybuilders where you see their physique, you see their work ethic, how they train, how they eat, and you drew inspiration from them as well.
I mean, the early days, Dorian Yates was Mr. Olympia when I started. I mean, Haney just wrapped up his career, but it necessarily wasn't the Mr. Olympias that always drove. I mean, I followed a lot of what Sean Ray did. Our training was kind of similar at the time. You know, and like I said, even Ronnie, who wasn't even top guy then, you know, he was inspiring. We did a lot of appearances together back in the days of Muscle Mag. We used to do a lot of store appearances, and we weren't top guys, but we had a great following, and we had people that supported us. That's why, you know, we're so appreciative today that we have the opportunity to come out here, and we're still recognized because of what we selfishly did on a bodybuilding stage to be the best. And so many people never have that experience to have this platform to compete, but they use us on a day-to-day inspiration with what we did in the rivalries and the, you know, the eating habits and the training aspect, and take little pieces of that to be better and be motivated. And like Ronnie said, you should want to get up every day and do some sort of exercise, go to the gym. You know, it's scary getting under a big squat bar or a big bench press or deadlifting or whatever we tend to do, but listen, you got to be a little bit crazy to do what we do. I always said that. Got to turn that switch on. But everyone has greatness inside of them at different levels. It just comes down to what path you choose and how you go about navigating to be there. And, you know, we're supportive of all of it, like I said. So, you know, it's just a true honor for us to sit up here. We love reminiscing. We love being a part of the whole Arnold Classic. I mean, big shout out to Arnold and his staff. And of course, the great fans of the Columbus region and everyone that's traveled from afar, many international people here from overseas. So, man, come see us when you see. We're going to be here all weekend, Ronnie and I. So please take the opportunity to say hello, and we appreciate you guys more than you know.
So, in closing, and I want to go with both of you on this one, when we look at the two of you, we talk greatness. Ronnie, with you, Jay came up as a young bodybuilder. You had a different path. You were a college football player, you're eventually a policeman, and your path to bodybuilding was a little less conventional. You joined the Metroflex, the gym owner telling you, you could be Mr. Olympia one day, and you're like, that's great, what's that? And here you are now. At what point did you embrace the fact that not only were you a bodybuilder, but that you were a great bodybuilder? And at what point did you realize, or did you learn to dominate the stage, to dominate your competition? And I ask that because, again, we are all sitting here in whatever path of life that we have, whatever pursuits that we may have, everybody is in pursuit of greatness. What would your message to the fans be? What would your message to the fans be about pursuing greatness in whichever passion they want to pursue?
Well, I always try to tell people, you know, God put us all here for a reason. We all have a career, or we have a calling, and it is up to us to figure out what it is, because, you know, we're not here just to be here. We're here for a purpose. We're here for a reason. And once you find what your reason is and what your calling is, it'll be the easiest life you will ever live. Just like I was saying earlier, you know, when I first went to Metroflex Gym and Brian was trying to get me to be a bodybuilder, I'm like, no, dude, I don't like dieting and heard those guys that take drugs. Now, definitely want to do that, especially just getting on at the police department. You know, it wasn't until I won my first Mr. Olympia until I figured out what my true calling was, and that was to be 8-time Mr. Olympia. But the whole time, you know, I've been working out. I started when I was like 12, then I got into football, played high school, junior high, played college. Actually, that's where I got a lot of my injuries from. A lot of people don't really know that, but I really got some bad injuries playing football, especially in college. And it started me going to the chiropractor, and I went for years and years and didn't stop going until I stopped bodybuilding. But, you know, once you figure out what your truly calling is, you'll never, ever work a day in your life. And I truly believe that because I have truly experienced it, and I've seen it happen millions of times, day in and day out, all over the world.
Jay, finally, you know, you and I were at FIBO last year, and one thing that really stood out to me, ladies and gentlemen, and this goes for Jay and it goes for Ronnie, you could line up to meet them, to greet them, take a picture with them. Jay Cutler, 4-time Mr. Olympia, for all the success that he has had. This was last year FIBO in Germany. He had lines for days, lines around the corner. 8 hours, this man is on his feet signing autographs, taking pictures, and then what happened, and this is what really stood out to me, the time for the autograph session ended. What does Jay do? He doesn't leave. He literally goes one by one to those still standing in line, taking selfie, 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 selfie. And that's the passion and that's the commitment that these two gentlemen have brought. So Jay, when you're approached by someone here, someone younger perhaps, that never saw you or Ronnie compete, they see highlights of you on YouTube, yet they're still so inspired by you. What does that mean to you, and what keeps you going to be the bodybuilding ambassador that you've become?
Yeah, it brings me back to why I started and the passion I had in the beginning. I just wanted to find greatness. I was uncertain at 18. I was at a crossroad going to college. I found the gym, started to build muscle, build more confidence when I looked in the mirror. It's all about confidence. And I think a lot of people, that's why they find the weight room, is to, you know, see something back in the mirror. We're artists, but at the same time, we want to be more confident with the way we look, how we carry ourselves, get ourselves out of that the comfort zone a little bit. And that's what I always encourage people, is sometimes you have to be a little uncomfortable. When you come to these things, it's crowded. There's a lot of people. What I tend to do is I try to even kill all kind of awkward energy in the room by saying thank you so much, going up to someone saying, why are you here? You know, why do you follow us? And I think, you know, whenever they say, you know, I follow your career, it always has something to do with him, and that's why we seem to do a lot of things together. And we talk about